Intuitive advice on boundaries and patriarchy. Hi, my name is Leah Chantel. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to talk about something that a lot of psychics, mediums, and intuitives talk about, and it's patriarchy. How do we deal with it? How do we subvert it? Because sometimes people will try too hard to subvert patriarchy and they actually get themselves into way more trouble than is necessary. And sometimes just going with the flow kind of works well for you as an intuitive, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel of your gender role. So what do I mean by this? So I think as women, we don't want to be too subservient. We don't want to just do whatever gentlemen tell us to do, regardless if the request is maybe something ordinary or something out of the ordinary. So, for example, nowadays in our relationships, I think we're asked to show up more in different ways intimately than we have been in the past. And as somebody who's a self-confident intuitive, we should show up in our relationships intimately in the way that we feel comfortable showing up. That would be my first piece of advice. You don't want to do something that doesn't feel comfortable, regardless if you're with a gentleman or you're with somebody else. Don't do anything that would make you feel uncomfortable just because you feel pressured that you should fulfill your role or you should be subservient. Always go with your gut feeling of what feels right for you intimately. And I can come up with all kinds of rules and say, wait until marriage, or wait until 3 months have passed, or wait until the 6th date. And while those are all like helpful guidelines in terms of when it's appropriate to become intimate, the truth is only you really know when you're ready to be intimate as a woman. Only you really know. And you should always do what feels right for you. And maybe if you're a more religious person, that means waiting longer, and that's completely okay. And there's nothing patriarchal about that. You know, you don't have to force yourself to have sex on the first date just to be like this empowered woman who's just like a gentleman, or date multiple people and be a player, unless that really feels comfortable to you, right? You should always just do in your intimate life what feels comfortable and according to your sense of ethics and the way that you grew up. You shouldn't be listening to a lot of relationship advice telling you to play hard to get or crazy stuff like that. I think the best advice is to stay true to the best version of your authentic self. So obviously you do want to work on any behavior that's not very flattering according to your personality. And we all have those unflattering behaviors if we stop and self-reflect. Maybe you're the type of person who goes on and talks a lot. And that's okay. That can be a gift in one situation, but it can be a problem in another situation. And so you just want to reflect on that and make sure that that's not getting in the way of your relationships. Or maybe you're the type of person who's very energetic and very excited and bubbly, and you're with another reserved person, and maybe you're like coffee and cream and you do go well together, but you have to be aware that you're not energetically taxing the other person with all of your bubbly energy. And in fact, when you're a woman, when you're very sensitive and you want to share with the world your message, I think the temptation in our personal relationships is we want to put ourselves out there and be more forward in our personal relationships. And in my personal humble opinion, I think it's actually better to pull back a little bit in your personal relationships. Let gentlemen think for themselves and assess what they want to do according to their lives. Stand back and give them that freedom to do so, that freedom to believe whatever they want to believe, to think whatever they want to think, rather than try to kind of get them to jump on your bandwagon and your belief system. And gentlemen will really appreciate that. And also, there's this one piece that I read about in a book that was about patriarchy and overcoming patriarchy, because it is a topic of interest to me. It is something that I want to encourage in my work to some extent, but some of the ways that people go about it in their writing and their work, in my opinion, are just completely wrong. So I shouldn't say completely wrong. I don't want to say right or wrong, because in terms of intuition, we live in a third dimension and we shouldn't be judging things in right and wrong. But there are just some strategies out there that I would say don't work 90% of the time. Maybe there is that unicorn person out there where it does work for them, but it's rare. And here's what I'm talking about. It's about the woman proposing first for marriage instead of the gentleman. I just really don't believe that it works. And I think there are some things along the way that women pick up when we're trying to learn how to be empowered and how to overcome the patriarchy that are just really bad pieces of advice, and I think that's one of them. I don't think a woman should ever propose for marriage first, unless a gentleman really wants you to and he explicitly asks you to, but even then I would be very careful, because men have a really wicked sense of humor and they could be trying to like just play a practical joke on you or something, right? I mean, I hate to be that skeptical, but it's true. Gentlemen tend to be a little bit more mischievous and intellectual, and they think about things a little bit differently than maybe a sensitive, intuitive woman does. And so I don't believe in trying to topple the patriarchy in that manner. Here's how I do think we should work on toppling the patriarchy. We should be so filled up and empowered in our own message and so willing to share with the world our content and our joy and our creation, that's what's kind of the thing that starts slowly eroding the patriarchy in a positive way, because as women, we're learning how to earn our own money through finding our own audience and sharing our message. And we're using our time productively, so we're not worrying about our relationships or worrying about when we get married. The truth is about marriage and children is a lot of that is out of our hands. And when we just realize that these things are not under our control, we realize that we have to build meaning around our lives in a different way in this day and age that we're living in. That used to be a reliable phase of life that would come to everyone eventually, and it probably will later in our generation. But in the time being where people are feeling uncertain, or they're worrying about the housing market, or they're worrying about rent, or whatever they're worrying about, that's making them kind of ambivalent towards commitment, why not use this time productively to share our message with the world instead? Why not empower people to feel better about themselves and their self-esteem and their sense of spirituality, or their role or their position in their community? Why not work on these deeper, more fulfilling aspects of life rather than worrying about, oh, when is this passage of time going to happen before this milestone comes up in my life, right? The truth is, it may come or it may not. I think that's true of all women in this day and age. We're all in the same boat, unless you're living in a developing country. If you're in a developed country, there's just no guarantee of that anymore. And that's the way it is. And the sooner we embrace that and just learn to fill ourselves up with self-love and enjoy our lives the way they are, maybe work on our health and go to the gym, or start writing in the morning for 15 minutes, or read a book a week, or start a meditation practice daily, or yoga practice. And this does not need to be the laundry list of Yoga 101 that you must do every single day, and if you don't, you feel guilty. That's not productive or realistic. This should be something that you're building towards, that you really enjoy, that you're building into your life. And if you don't enjoy yoga, if you don't like doing something, even reading or writing, then maybe that's not the thing that's for you. There are some influencers online who will say you must read a book a week. And I think that can be really great, for some people, but for others, that's not the right regular practice for them. Maybe they need to listen to an audio podcast, or they need to meditate, or they really need to be at the gym exercising. The fitness aspect, I think, is almost universal. So all of us need to do something for fitness, even if it's just stretching every day. It's something, right? Or going for a walk. Minimum that, if not something more. The more hormonal or the more emotions and feelings and depth you have, probably the more exercise you need, I would say. But anyway, these are sort of my tips and secrets about toppling the patriarchy. I believe we should be doing it in terms of our work that we share with the world. We should not be doing it by necessarily trying to change our gender roles in a relationship, because I think those things are kind of etched in stone and we don't really have a lot of direct control over it. Ironically, the most control we get is by letting go of control, if that makes sense. I hope you're all having a wonderful week, and I hope to talk about this more. I think there's a lot more depth and a lot more juice to this topic that I can discuss in future videos, so I'm looking forward to sharing them with you. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.